Group Fitness Fundamentals for the Manitoba Fitness Council, Leadership, Chapter 1. So you finished your fitness theory and you're going to teach some type of group exercise. So here's a sample of the types of classes that you are going to be prepped to teach. This is a high-low class. Next is a step class. Next is muscular conditioning. Total body conditioning. Circuit training. HIIT training or high intensity interval training. And last but not least, cycling. So all of those are samples of classes that after you go through the fundamentals and choose one of the specialties, you'll be able to teach. So why do we instruct groups? Well, this is a helping profession. There's a huge desire. People that go into this teaching fitness classes have a desire to help people realize their potential, whatever that potential might be. And the overarching purpose is to help people live healthier and happier lives with exercise. People that are instructors love to move, and they love to share their passion with others. There's an opportunity to enhance health-related components, to change people's health status, as well as maybe performance, and also the whole socialization and group atmosphere is something that people really look for. That being in a social environment and being connected with other people, really important for the instructor as well as the participants. And as with anything, the leader makes a huge difference. The ability of the instructor to communicate, teach, and motivate will predict attendance to their class. An instructor that's strong in these areas, that has a personality, is charismatic, is organized, and has excellent class design, they're the ones that are going to be successful and have people wanting to come back to their classes. So what makes a great leader? I want you to think about a coach, a teacher, or a leader in your past, and what qualities did you admire and would you like to emulate of them? So what 3 things strike you the most about those people in your life? Take a minute and just jot a couple things down. So just check what is on your list and see if it jives with anything that's on our list. So what qualities and attributes makes for a great group fitness leader? There's lots, but basically it's not just putting a class through its paces. You are instructing and inspiring. There's a difference. You're leading, coaching, and mentoring. It's a different philosophy than just I'm a DVD and follow me. By putting your class together and being a leader and a mentor and a coach, you're actually responding to your participants, encouraging them, making their experience special. Encouraging and motivating through your words, through your actions, through your facial expressions, making sure you're hitting everybody in the class with positive feedback makes a big difference. You're building relationships, People see you as someone who has knowledge that they can confide in, that they can ask questions that they didn't think they could ask other people. You have a role to play in their healthcare. Knowing where your limits are is really important, and knowing when to refer and acting as a resource is very important. You can't diagnose or treat injury. You're not a dietitian, you're not a physiotherapist, you're not a doctor or a pharmacist. But you can listen and you can make suggestions on where they can go for more information. You're a role model. Your actions and your attitudes are important. Making sure that you're positive, that you're talking about moderation and living life and not being perfect. Sometimes we put on a pedestal when you're an instructor that people think that perfection is your life and that you're always active and you never eat at a fast food restaurant and you never have a day of being lazy and watching TV. People need to know that moderation and variety and living a life and having birthday cake is okay. Perfection is not the goal. Healthy living is. You have a job to empower your participants to make a choice and choose in terms of intensity for a class, for example. Your job is not to make them move. Your job is to give them the options to choose to move and support and encourage their choices. A person should never come out of a fitness class saying that was too easy, not intense enough, because as an instructor, as long as you are giving options and encouraging them to choose the option that's appropriate for them, they should get a good workout. It might not be complicated choreography-wise, and that's okay. People can dress it up if they need to, but in terms of intensity, people should not come out of a class with saying that they didn't get a workout, as long as you're giving all the options and that they're able to choose the one that works for them. Again, more leadership qualities. Planning, being prepared, organized, adaptable, and creative. Very important to make sure that you are prepared for your class. The more prepared you are, the better it's going to flow. The knowledge of safe and effective exercises. As you teach and your experience increases, you'll have more and more of those to pull from in your bank in your brain. When you first start teaching, you probably have to have everything written down, and you probably won't stray too much from that list, but as you get more experience, that will change. Making sure you have creative and flexible programming ideas so that you maybe write down some options. If this doesn't work, then I have this as a backup, or if I go through this faster than I thought, then I have other options. I can redo this other piece. Language, voice and body language, really important. Having good human relation and communication skills, and we'll talk about voice in another chapter. But you are basically a communicator with your words, with your movements, with your hands, with your body. So making sure that you practice that piece, and as soon as that becomes second nature, classes will just flow. Your manner is important, being enthusiastic, encouraging, and motivating. You have to actually like moving, and you have to try to make it fun, however that is. Playing games, with your music selection, with your interaction with your participants, making sure that people come out of there having a good time. Attitude, making sure you're responsible, sincere, and professional. So taking that whole body approach, that mind, body, spirit, that each affects the other, and that we need to take care of all three pieces of our health. And a positive self-concept, always talking about yourself and your uniqueness of yourself, and that you're not self-deprecating and talking about body parts you don't like, and making sure you're always talking about the positiveness of being unique and special the way we are. We're all different, and that's okay. The other thing is to make sure that you always commit to professional development, to keep your certifications and skills up to date, and learn. There's lots of ways to get new information and new stuff, new class formats, new choreography ideas, new workout formats, keeping it fresh so that you don't get bored and your participants don't get bored either. Challenges of leading group fitness classes. There are several, and this isn't a comprehensive list, but things that will happen. You might have participants that talk in class. It's very distracting to everyone, including yourself. So you have several strategies. You can be direct and go up to them and ask them to stop talking. It's time to work. You can just start making the intensity of the class increase so that they actually can't talk because they're working hard. You can also teach in front or beside them to give them the subtle hint that they need to be quiet now. So whatever works with your class, whatever relationship you have with them, use what you think is going to be best. Late arrivals, if people are coming in late, just make sure that you tell them take the first 3 or 4 minutes to at a lower intensity than the rest of the class is working to make sure that they actually warm up. And if you get a chance, just make sure you remind them what time the class starts and try to get there on time. Some facilities have a policy if they arrive more than 10 or 15 minutes late, they're not allowed in the class, so make sure you know what your facility policy is and be consistent in enforcing it. Leaving early is common, especially if you're in a workplace environment where people need to get back to their office or a meeting. So just remind them to make sure that they cool down and that they stretch. And it's no problem to give stretching homework. You can make a quick little sheet of key stretches for your class and hand it out or email it to your participants so that if they do have to leave early, they at least have the information on what muscle groups and how to stretch. Sometimes you have participants that just come to class and do their own thing. They don't follow anything that you're doing. They're doing their whole own workout in the class. This has happened to me, and it's very distracting, so you need to deal with that right away. If there's someone who's doing something totally different than what everyone else is doing, for example, they're doing a cardio workout while everyone is doing core, you need to talk to them and say, you know, we're doing core right now. If you'd like to do more cardio, you're more than welcome to go into another part of the building, but it's distracting to the people around you, and it's not respectful. It sounds strange, but it does happen. People might do their own thing in terms of the choreography, where they might substitute moves in or change the move up a little bit. That's okay. But if they're doing something totally different than what everyone else is doing and what your plan is, then you have the right to ask them to leave or to join what everyone else is doing. Multiple levels is a reality of teaching group fitness classes, and we will talk about that in another chapter a little bit later in more detail. Leadership styles. There are 4 leadership styles that you will use over your career of teaching. The first one is authoritarian. There we go. The leader is in charge and makes all the decisions. As a new fitness leader, this is the style that's recommended because there's so much going on when you first start teaching. You're nervous, you're trying to listen to the music, remember your choreography, make sure everything is set up, that you're watching people, you're smiling, doing all those things. It's too much to have anyone else have any power in the class. So when you're first teaching, authoritarian is the way to go. You have a plan and you're going to stick with it. Democratic, this is a bit more relaxed format. Participants' opinions are considered, so you might need to adjust your plan based on the participants are not getting a move, or you might want to give them the choice for the strength and conditioning. Do you want to do use a stability ball for the core or just use the floor? You might say, would you like to do step or high-low? Would you like to do interval or aerobic on the bike? You might have a section of your cycling class where you make your own ride for 5 minutes, whatever you like. In a sport conditioning class, you might have a station where they can make up their own exercise. A little bit more democratic, a little bit more give and take. You might even just ask, what music do you guys want to listen to today? So giving the participants a little bit more power in the class. Laissez-faire, there's no direct instruction, but it's really responsive to participant needs. So this is a circuit or sport conditioning environment where you've taught them the exercises, the class is now going, and they're basically moving from station to station. You're in the middle of the room, and you are just basically watching for when there's a question or you see a technique issue. So you're not leading everyone, because you couldn't lead people in all the stations, but you're observing, watching, supervising, and reacting to any problems that might arise. Submissive is a non-existent leadership style. It's more of you have a running club and you meet once a week and you run together that once a week, and then you give homework to them and they are to run 2 days on their own and you give them a plan. So it's much more hands-off in terms of leadership. Aspects of instruction. So there are different pieces of teaching classes. Motivation and inspiration are key. You can do this with new moves, catchy music, using state-of-the-art equipment, or using the old equipment in new ways. Communicating and cueing moves effectively really creates a great environment for a class. So doing your best to create a fun, interactive, smooth environment is really key to a good class. The other piece is the educational part. People come to classes trusting that you are not going to hurt them, either in the class or over the course of many classes. So know why you are selecting the moves. Go back to your biomechanics, back to your anatomy, back to posture issues that everybody has. Do you pick a lot of hip flexor movements knowing that the hip flexors are very strong, or do you pick the opposing muscle group to balance out the body? Be critical when you select your movements. You're incorporating current research and knowledge, going back to your professional development, getting your information up to date and current, picking things that make sense based on what is out there now in terms of research. And making educated decisions about the information you give to participants. With the internet, there's so much information out there. You need to be picky and choosy to find out what is falling within your scope of practice, what you're able to relay to people. Nutrition information, keep to the Canada Food Guide. The dietitians of Canada are saying it, you're probably safe in saying it too. But if you're going with some current fad that's out there and promoting that to your class, be aware, because that could get you into trouble because you're acting outside of your scope of practice. So just keep it safe, keep it simple, keep it focused on what you know and what you're trained to do. Motivation by leaders, I prefer to call it inspiration, because I can't make people do anything, but I can inspire you to choose to do something. So think of it in that context. Keeping things as positive as possible will enhance experience and encourages commitment. Focus on the internal changes rather than the external changes, because the external changes sometimes don't happen very quickly or they're not noticeable. So focus on how people are feeling, how much better they're sleeping, how much faster they fall asleep at night, how much energy they have now. Things like where they're making healthier choices in their other life outside of the class that they're attending. If you focus on those pieces rather than weight, size, that kind of thing, you're going to see a lot of commitment. Also focusing on performance, being able to do things longer, to do more of them, to have heavier weight, to do a more complicated exercise. Those are all things that people need to pay attention to, because we forget, we don't pay attention to those pieces. By establishing a friendly, positive, and open atmosphere that's fun and allows for learning and achieving goals, you're going to have a successful class. Keeping things simple, that it's challenging but not frustrating, so you have to watch your participants. If you've chosen to do some stuff and it looks like it's not fun anymore, and they're just giving you looks like they're confused and they're not moving, then make a change. Stop that. Don't continue on with that pattern and that movement, that option. Bring it back to something that people can work, because they want to work. They have a certain amount of time for this activity in their life, and they want to get the best bang for their buck. Making sure you're watching the group is really important. Making eye contact, watching their facial expressions, watching their body language. You get a lot of information about how they're doing and what they're feeling from that. Being creative is important, but make sure you don't sacrifice safety for creativity. So creative in the moves that you choose, the information that you share. You can give them handouts. You can get free stuff from all the things like canola and Manitoba pork and the Turkey Association. All those organizations, they have information that you can get for free and distribute. Make sure you try different things for professional development. Go to a class that you've never thought you'd ever teach just to see if you can incorporate a piece into it. You have maybe no desire to teach a belly dancing class, but you go and you take a workshop on it, and maybe you can incorporate something fun for a cool down. You never know. Games are always fun to play. Make sure you think about and try them out first before you do it in a real environment to make sure you cover all your bases. Music can be creative and different, and your routines. Changing them up, changing music up on a regular basis is a good idea, and changing your routines about every 6 weeks to 8 weeks is a good idea. Gives people a chance to get used to the routine, be able to work, and then at about 8 weeks, they're probably ready for some new challenge. Incorporating new moves within that 6 to 8 weeks is totally great, but you don't need to change it every week. That's just hard for you to teach, and people want it to have consistency. They want to just kind of get into the groove and go. Keeping things positive in terms of reinforcement is really important, as mentioned earlier. Being a good inspirator, there's some strategies that you can use to actually make your classes inspiring. Make participants feel welcome. Smile and greet them as they come in. Have conversations. Be open. Make eye contact before the class even starts. Be available before and after class. So as you're waiting for your class to start, strike up a conversation with some people. After you've done your class, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to come chat with me. That opens the door so people can have an opportunity to come and chat if they need. Respond to feedback that people give you. If people have a criticism or a critique, say, well, we'll try to work that into that next time. Making sure that you know that they've been heard. Provide useful and current information, keeping on top of the research and what's out there and sharing that with your participants. Good time to share information would be in the cool down and the stretch, because then their brains are done. They don't have to worry about paying attention or thinking too much at that point, because they're just ending the workout. Being friendly and professional. It's important to make sure that you let your personality come out and be the leader, be the one in charge of the class. Again, emphasizing positives and support their efforts. Congratulate them on a job well done. Empower participants. Be sure that you give them lots of options, lots of choices, and permission to choose what level works for them. Emphasizing the right benefits, the intrinsic as opposed to the extrinsic. Keep it simple, right? If it's too complicated and frustrating, people do not get a workout and they won't come back. And keep your skills and your certifications current, making sure your first aid CPR is up to date and that you're keeping everything ready to go so that you are not in a situation where you are not certified and then could be in a liable situation. And finally, recharge. Make sure that you keep your own workouts, go to your own classes, do your own things that you like to do to help you recharge. It's also a good idea to take breaks. So taking a couple weeks off here and there or a week here and there to make sure that any injuries or issues that your body might be having have a chance to heal, and make sure you take care of yourself. Eat properly, rest, making sure that you aren't getting into an overtraining or an injury situation. There's two styles of teaching. There is the teacher-centered and the student-centered philosophy. There is a handout in your package. Let me find it here for you. A worksheet that you can go through, and you just basically indicate if it's teacher or student-centered, and the answer key is actually included in that package. So rather than talking about that piece, I want you to go through at the end of this section and go through that and then compare your answers to the PowerPoint. Back here. So there's your teacher and student-centered, going through that handout and working through it. Group cohesion. This basically is creating a social group with your class. And it's strongly related to adherence and maintenance for people to stick to it and keep coming back. You're looking at developing a sense of community, social opportunities, and you're engaging participants in your class environment. Really important to do this. And for some people, this is their social network. This is their friends and their people that they hang out with. This is their fun of their day. There's lots of ways to do that. Learning people's names. There's nothing like being called by your first name when you come into a group. Have social outings. I've had groups of classes that they go for coffee after class, which is so much fun. Share personal stories about yourself and have your classmates do that as well. Just make sure you're keeping it on a positive side. Including partner exercises. As soon as you do that, energy goes up. People laugh, they're interacting, they're not just in their own silo. Just be aware that some people are not comfortable with partner exercises, so use it sparingly until you know your group really likes that, because you might have someone who just does not like to be around and other people. Some people are not there for the social piece, they're there just for the workout, so keep that in mind. Discuss current health topics or things that are in the news, the Olympics, sporting events. I would stay away from politics, religion. Those two topics are sometimes a little iffy to use because it might cause some debate that maybe isn't appropriate for a class environment. But it could be current research that's come out, something like that, that might be interesting to people. Having their class count down the moves. So how many left? 8, 7, right? That's a good idea. Then it gets them talking. You might only have 1 or 2 that do it, but the energy goes up. You could name movements after participants. You can call a burpee the Donna because it's Donna's least favorite move, and it makes her laugh every time you call it the Donna. Take attendance in class. It works if you have a group that's coming on a regular basis for a 10-week session, but if it's a drop-in situation or a transient class, it's not really going to work. Celebrate events, so things like Valentine's Day, Halloween, themed classes around the Olympics, around birthdays, around winter vacations in the middle of February when the weather is so cold. You just are dreaming of going away somewhere warm. Those kinds of things make fun of the group environment. You have a good time. There's another reason to go. You're engaged. It's little things like putting up little decorations in the class, or having a treat after class, or having people dress up, or bring something from home to share with everybody. Things like that may go a long way to creating group cohesion. Creating interest in your class is a key piece. You want to make sure that you're getting interested people, because the interested learners are motivated learners. So there's several strategies that you can use. You can focus on needs and goals. So applying the situation to the participants' needs, goals, and interests, as well as fitness trends. So why do we stretch the chest? Because in our everyday life, we're always in this poor posture, rounded back situation. By stretching the chest, even if we haven't worked it in our class, we're going to be impacting and opening up the body, improving posture for their day-to-day life. Rewards and results. Why you're doing the specific movement in the class, why you did this class in general. Asking them, do you feel yourself getting fitter with every pedal stroke of the bike? Do you feel yourself moving closer to your goals? When we first started this class, you could do a plank from the knee, and now you're doing it from the toes. Pay attention to those pieces. Those are successes. Using humor. When people laugh, you get their attention, and they have fun. So telling jokes in the class, making fun of yourself in a positive way. Humor needs to stay away from sex, religion, politics, and race. So keep it PG generally. Appeal to emotions. So use subjects and words that create emotional reaction. I was in a workshop where a participant talked about her journey with breast cancer and how yoga helped her. And it was amazing. Just her sharing her story made an impact on all the people in the room. So make sure that it's appropriate and that it's something that you can talk about honestly, but things like that work. I talk about my kids a lot in my class and the stories the things that they do, and appealing to humor and emotions with that. So find something that works for you, and if you're not comfortable with that piece, you don't need to do it. Icebreakers, good idea to use at the start of a class if you're doing a 10-week session where people are coming on a regular basis, something where they have to say their name. It could be Divine Donna and Earthy Emily, so that you can help remember their names and then people kind of associate something about them. There's lots of icebreakers out there. You could share the most interesting place they've traveled to, the strangest thing they've eaten, something that nobody knows about them, and different things like that to get people on a different page. Self-disclosure, sharing a bit of yourself with the group. Again, keep it relevant and positive. Or if it's something that's something about your journey, also really good. If you've had a fat loss journey or a health journey, sharing a bit of that to let people know that you're with them, you've experienced what they're going through, and that you can relate to them is also a nice way to connect with your participants. And finally, questions. Encouraging your participants to ask questions before and after class is a really important thing. If they're concerned or wondering why and you don't know, tell them you'll get back to them. Questions are great because there's a learning opportunity for both you and your participants. Finally, creating a healthy environment. There are several things that you can do to keep your participants coming back. Educate, motivate, and have creative class content. Keep it changing on a regular basis. Tap into participants' feelings. Get them to feel something about the class with your music, with a movement, with a story. Minimize their concerns about visibility, embarrassment, and judgment. That it's all positive. You're not going to pick on or point anybody out. Making sure you're always keeping people's feelings in mind. Interacting with your people as a leader and the participants as well, it creates a really positive environment. Be sure you set a good example with what you do and say. The words that come out of your mouth and the actions you choose are really important. Making sure you're being positive about the uniqueness of your body and yourself, about your performance. Make sure that you're not always picking the highest level all the time, that you're choosing the lower level on occasion and the intermediate level so that everyone feels that they can follow you, and making sure that you're being positive in the words that you choose. Creating a sense of community, do little things to make people feel it's part of a group, where if they're not there, they're missed. Getting to know their names, greet them, and move around the room so you can get to know people. You're not always talking to the same folks. And make sure that your appearance is professional and appropriate, that your clothing matches the culture of the facility, that people can see your body when you're moving. You're not wearing something that's so baggy that they can't see what your knees look like in relation to your feet or your hips, but making sure that your dress is not going to make people feel uncomfortable, so that any language on your shirt is appropriate and that things aren't exposed or showing too much. You're the professional, you're the leader, you're the one in charge, and dress that way, making sure that you're put together, that your clothes are clean and washed, and that your appearance is looking professional.